Ciudades seguras.
And that means that if you penetrate a network, it's not just a question of stealing things or destroying the network itself, but it can become something that has an effect in the real world. You can destroy a generator. You can destroy a mechanical system. And that can have life-threatening and major economic consequences. So this is the challenge we face as we combine this increasing Internet of Things with the increasing tendency to want to actually operate control systems using remote, wirelessly connected networks. And we need to think about the architecture of security now at an early stage before we wind up in a position where we're forced to do it under pressure. I'll take another example from the headlines just to illustrate how urgent this issue is. And I cannot tell you that this story is true, although I will tell you that it is plausible, but it has been widely reported. In the last week, an individual was arrested by the FBI who claimed that he had, on a number of occasions, while sitting in an airplane, removed the cover of the entertainment system in the seat, plugged in a device, and was able thereby not only to enter the network of the entertainment system, but from that to jump into the flight control system. And he claimed to actually affect the control of the plane itself. Now, I don't know if he actually did that, but I can tell you from discussions with engineers, I don't think that that is certainly out of the realm of possibility. And I wouldn't wait to see it actually happen before I took steps to protect those systems from that kind of attack. So with that as background in terms of what we face, I would like to talk a little bit about how I think we need to proceed with respect to our critical infrastructure. And I say this because this is a shared responsibility of government and the private sector. Government is not going to be able to protect all of the networks in the United States or in Mexico or in Canada or anywhere else. There are too many networks, and they are largely in private hands. On the other hand, the private sector can't do it alone. They need help about current intelligence, understanding what are the techniques and tools that are out there that they need to be watchful for, and they also need education in the various techniques that are necessary in order to continue to evolve cybersecurity to adapt to new threats. But we need to focus our attention on areas of greatest priority, and at least in the United States, and I think here in Mexico, we would describe those areas as critical infrastructure. In other words, companies or enterprises in the private sector or in the public sector which operate systems which are so fundamental to the economic health and the physical and personal well-being of citizens that compromise of those systems would have a massive national impact, either in terms of loss of life or economic damage. In the United States, we've used that definition to identify a number of areas of the economy that are identified or viewed as critical, and a number of enterprises within those sectors that we view as most high priority in terms of security. Among those we consider critical infrastructure, obviously, are energy, financial institutions, communication systems, and the like. If we take that approach, and as a North American continent, which is highly integrated in terms of some of our energy and communication systems, and if we can identify and agree on critical infrastructure, then we can set about a program to begin to raise the level of security across the board, which will have a beneficial effect in securing all of our prosperity in this NAFTA environment. Now, let me make clear of one thing. When I talk about cyber, I don't mean to disconnect it entirely from the physical security. In fact, one of the things we've learned by analyzing some of the incidents in the past is that cybersecurity and physical security are often closely bound together. Oftentimes, we'll see attacks that involve both a challenge to the information system and a challenge to the physical system itself. At my firm, we did an analysis, a test of one enterprise we were asked to do, where we looked at their networks, and their networks were actually quite well defended in terms of the ability to enter over the internet. But if you went into their headquarters building and you set up a laptop and pretended to be waiting for a meeting, you could suck down an enormous amount of data from the wireless because the wireless was unencrypted and unprotected. So that's an example where the network itself was pretty well secured, but the physical space was unsecured. And the reverse is also true. If you're concerned about your physical space and you have technology in place that is designed to give you warnings about people who are intruding, if they're compromised through cyber attacks, that's going to have a physical impact as well. So as we look at the issue of critical infrastructure and how we secure against these threats I've identified, I want to emphasize the importance of combining a physical security program and a cyber program.